All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Today is August 28th, 2020. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority being held in Albany and also remotely. We have, just for the record, we have one commissioner by phone, which of course is allowed through the governor's executive orders regarding the COVID-19 situation and the amendment to the open meetings law. With that, we have Chairman Bradley in person here in Albany. We have Commissioner Ford on the phone. Commissioner Ford?
Present and accounted for, Tom.
Thank you, sir. You have Commissioner Fan on video. We also have General Counsel Meyerhoff on video. We have Deputy Commissioner of Licensing Roberts on the phone. Deputy
here.
Commissioner Roberts, okay, and myself, Secretary Donahue, in person in the Albany office. We have two matters on today's calendar, assuming I counted right. They are both requests from Counsel's Office for emergency summary orders of suspension. The first matter is agenda number 1135 double K. Oswego OP 2219328. The licensee is R.L. Malone, Inc.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bradley, Commissioner Fan, and Commissioner Ford. William Brennan for Counsel's Office. I'm here today to request that the board summarily suspend the licensee for blatantly violating Executive Orders 202.43, 202.41, 202.52, and failing to adequately supervise the licensed premises. The licensee, R.L. Malone, Inc., DBA The Ferris Wheel, has been licensed since July 8th of 2020. The licensed premises is located at 6 Market Street, Oswego, New York. On August 27, 2020, at approximately 10:45 p.m., Investigator Aker performed an inspection of the licensed premises. When the investigator first arrived, he observed between 10 and 15 patrons congregated waiting outside the premises. These patrons were not socially distancing, and some of the patrons were not wearing masks in violation of EO 202.43. The number of patrons waiting to gain entrance to the premises quickly grew to 20 to 25 people under similar circumstances. At 11 p.m., the waiting patrons began to enter the premises. Investigator Aker joined the line to enter, but staff at the door announced that the premises had reached capacity and they were not permitting any more patrons to enter. After waiting until 11:30 and not having gained entrance, Investigator Aker disclosed his identity and gained entrance to the licensed premises. The first floor of the premises was not being utilized. When Investigator Aker reached the second floor, he observed between 30 and 50 patrons. The majority of these patrons were not seated, not wearing face coverings, and not social distancing in violation of EO 202.41. Many of the patrons were dancing and consuming beverages. The investigator did not observe any substantial food available in violation of EO 202.52. The investigator spoke with a staff member and an individual who was self-identified as the manager. He advised them of these violations. All the patrons left the premises shortly thereafter. The observations of Investigator Aker, along with the pictures contained in the report, clearly show that the licensee is operating the premises with blatant disregard for the governor's executive orders and the SLA's guidelines. The manner in which this licensee is conducting business poses an immediate threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the licensee's patrons, employees, the community, and the general public during this terrible pandemic. We respectfully request that this board issue an emergency order suspending this licensee. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
Is this their first EO violation?
Commissioner, it's their first EO violation. However, in the last month, we've received 4 complaints, 2 complaints coming in the last 10 days, all for substantially the same type of behavior. In some instances, those complaints echoed the overcrowding, more than 50%, people not adhering to social distancing in front of the premises, that kind of thing. In addition to, each complaint indicated that they knew there was no food. How they knew that?
Okay, is this a complaint coming in from PD or community coming to the agency?
There was some coming directly to the agency. I believe one was a Paws New York complaint. like I said, it's a relatively new licensee. They first applied in October of 2019 and operated for some period of time on a temporary, but the original license was only issued on July 7th.
July 7 of 2020?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, Tom, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley?
Bill, what is this place? Is this a restaurant or tavern? What is it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be a tavern, I believe. However, the pictures depict just an area upstairs. The area downstairs was completely unoccupied, even though it's part of the licensed premises. The area downstairs is visible, according to the investigator, from the street level, and that was completely unoccupied.
And,
Was it renovated?
It was a new application, Commissioner.
Okay.
All right, any other questions then? I will proceed with the
It's
vote.
located right in the heart of downtown Oswego.
Yes, and many of the complaints referenced college. Their clientele consisted mainly of college-aged patrons.
Sorry, Mr. Brennan, can I just clarify something with you? So the license premise is supposed to be 2 floors,
Correct.
and but the downstairs is not occupied.
There was the investigator said there was nothing there.
It's like not. It doesn't even have furniture. It's like.
He didn't say that. He just said it was completely unoccupied.
Okay. Do you know the capacity? What's the maximum capacity?
I don't, nor do I know the exact number of patrons that were there, because the investigator couldn't. He was there by himself. He couldn't get an accurate count.
Okay.
So, I'm not alleging that they were over capacity because I have no way of telling. However, we are alleging that they failed to socially distance and enforce, those rules that are put forth in our guidelines, and which is clearly evidenced by the photographs.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, if I could add, it's Gary. I think the point about there being nobody on the ground floor is that they were hiding the fact that they were operating a stand-up bar with dancing on the second floor and wouldn't have been able to hide that on the first floor because you could see it from the street. That's the implication. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. What I do know, and why we're presenting the case, is because if this place is operating, even in a location where you can serve inside, the people are supposed to be sitting, eating, and drinking in tables that are socially distanced, and that's clearly not what's going on here.
Yeah, I would respectfully submit that one of the pictures that's associated with this report shows a bar where, as I'm looking at it, it appears it's 3 or 4 deep, people standing at the bar.
All right, any other questions? All right, then I will call for the vote. Commissioner Fan?
Tom, can you just give me one moment? Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Given the evidence presented by counsel, it's clear that this newly issued licensee is blatantly ignoring most of the governor's executive orders surrounding designed to contain the spread of COVID-19 in the state of New York. And I find that there is imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, and so I vote to summarily suspend this license.
All right, Commissioner Ford, your vote.
For reasons stated by counsel, and obviously the fact that it seems pretty apparent that they're not only ignoring the rules, the executive orders, but they're trying to conceal what's going on as well. So I vote to summarily suspend.
Chairman Bradley?
Based on the evidence presented, particularly the pictures, it's obvious that they're violating the executive orders. And I also believe that they're lack of using the first floor is so that they can hide the activities that they are obviously intentionally engaging in, which is a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare, so I vote to summarily suspend.
All right, the next item I have is agenda number 1135 L. It's King's OP 1284607. The licensee is PK Cafe LLC.
Good afternoon, members of the authority. Robert Buckley for Council's office. The premises, as this agenda item, has a trade name Lovers Rock. It's located at 419 Tompkins Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. A revocation proceeding has been instituted against this licensee under case 147601. That notice of pleading will be served by next week. The charges contained in the notice of pleading are based on an investigative report by an investigative task force with at least Investigator Stravali and Detective Spataro of vice enforcement from the New York City Police Department. It was conducted last night, August 27, 2020, from 10:36 p.m. to 11:16 p.m. The premises were licensed as a tavern. It was originally licensed on July 14th, 2015. There's no adverse history. There's no prior executive order visits or warnings. The only matters I saw in the compliance system were some complaints that precede the declaration of the COVID-19 pandemic, emergency declaration of noise, people living outside the location. Again, it's a tavern with a limited menu of different kind of patties, salads, and sandwiches. The premises indicated that they would use a rear yard that would be fenced in to extend from the first floor, and there's a basement having storage and a food prep area. Investigator Stravali saw persons located in and around at least at 3 areas by this location. The first persons he saw were approximately 4 persons standing within 100 feet from the premises, drinking from cups, which he recognized as which the premises uses. These people didn't have food. Again, they were standing or lingering in violation of Executive Order 202.43. The premises did not properly supervise and inspect an area within 100 feet from the location to make sure that executive orders and Department of Health and SLA guidelines are being adhered to. One of the persons of these 4 was actually given a summons. Apparently he was not behaving properly, was rolling a marijuana cigarette, and the summons, apparently he made some derogatory remarks to Detective Spataro, who issued the summons. There were another 2 people were seated in the roadway consuming alcohol beverages, but with no food order. And lastly, there were 8 persons seated in the rear yard area where there were the 5 picnic tables that the licensee has indicated in this diagram. They were consuming alcohol beverages but no food order. Executive Order 202.38 allows outdoor service, but with food service, and 202.52 requires a food order with each service an alcoholic beverage. The person initially in charge was bartender Matthew Pasternak, who acknowledged that there was no food, indicated that it wasn't really his responsibility, that he had brought this attention to his boss. And one of the licensed LLC members, a Sean Firestein, eventually did appear. And Mr. Firestein's explanation was that they did serve beef patties, but they had not restocked within the last 12 days or so any food. The only food indicated on the menu were these patties and plantain chips, but the only food that appeared to be available were prepackaged plantain chips selling for $2 that were on a clip, which you might see actually in a grocery store. So Mr. Firestein seemed to acknowledge that he needed to have food, but didn't have any explanation why there was no food available other than that they had not replenished their stock. Investigator Stravali also notes that the New York City Department of Health, its food service establishment permit had expired at the end of the last day of July of 2020 and had not been renewed. Mr. Firestein said he would take steps to renew that permit. Further, just getting back to the persons outside, there was a security guard, Horace Robinson Jr., whose security guard license expired March 6, 2020. I checked the New York State Department of State's website and the licensees database. I did not find any Horace Robinson Jr. Being a licensed security guard or any other type of license for that matter. Mr. Robinson explained to Mr. Travali that the prior business that he'd been employed at went out of business, a security guard company, and he was just being hired apparently as a free agent. Further, investigators Travali found labeled liquor bottles that had apparently been refilled with tequila and rum mixtures. He indicates that beer taps are not labeled. There was an emergency exit sign that was flickering in its emergency state, and books and records were not furnished to him. So again, the executive orders I recited were in violation. The premises is obviously not selling food, not had food available. By this time, licensees now, after 5 months of the executive order being issued, particularly 202.3, licensees should be very well aware. They need to have food available. That food has to be served with every service of alcohol beverages, and the licensee has not complied with those executive orders, as well as the recited ABC law violations and the rules of the authority. So for all that, the authority, counsel's office dismisses the members of the authority for emergency order summary suspension. It appears that this licensee is not capable of running this premises in a law-abiding manner, and the activities thereon that were observed contribute to the transmission of the coronavirus.
With that, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions, Tom. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley, what about you?
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, with that, I will call for your votes. First, Commissioner Fan.
Given the evidence presented by counsel, it's pretty clear that this licensee have really not made any effort to comply with the governor's executive orders surrounding the protection from the spread of COVID-19 within the state of New York. And due to the imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford, your vote.
For all the reasons provided by counsel, I vote to summarily suspend as well.
Chairman Bradley.
I vote to summarily suspend as well. There's obviously a multitude of ABC law violations as well as executive order violations here that clearly support that this license premise has become a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare.
All right then, Chairman, I have no other items on the calendar. Anything else you want to?
No, I'm all set. Thank you very much.
With that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.